This is a meeting of the Groton Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting being held on Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 6:06 p.m. It is being held in person and online. In person tonight, we have Mike Whitney, we have Adrian Johnson, myself, Beverly Washington, and Mitch Shinbrock. And online, we have Jay Whitlaw and Dr. Andrea Ackerman. And with that, we have a quorum. Jen White is absent tonight, and Sean Corcoran will join us shortly. The first thing on the agenda is the review of the May 11th, 2026 meeting, and that's the meeting at 6 o'clock. I don't know what happened to the meeting at 5, those minutes. But this is the meeting at 6. That was the day we had a 5 o'clock meeting and we had a 6 o'clock meeting. So this is only the 6 o'clock meeting. I think, Adrian, we have some corrections or...
Yeah, I think, well, somebody can read it or listen to it if they really care, but I think at the end of it, at the end of section 5, it should just say no action was taken.
And it should say, Mr. Johnson explained his request, and not Mr. Thomas, because that was your request.
Yeah, it was my request, so yeah, it should say that.
Okay.
It should say Mr. Johnson.
You don't see anything else in there?
Well, I think we could rewrite the whole thing if we wanted to.
So
I don't
I'll
think
just
it
have
matters.
Joyce listen to it.
I think Shannon had some suggestions too.
Okay.
So I don't know if hers was
Okay.
Incorporated in these minutes.
I think Joyce did ask Shannon to look it over, but I'll double check.
Okay, Mike?
So I wasn't here for this, and I'll abstain. But this is a Cal meeting, so maybe the no action had taken could be phrased differently, because you can't really take action in Cal.
Well, we didn't, it was a referral for board to approve the grant, so we didn't move it any further. But
Yeah.
I think that's what you mean, that we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
with
we can
the
still
referral.
make an action of referring it to the thing.
I didn't know what it was about, actually, but I just pointed at the Cal.
Yeah, we didn't make an action.
It's still factually correct.
Okay, we'll approve the minutes as corrected. The next item on the agenda is the state report card. And this is the time of the year most board members are excited to be here to listen to how our school district is doing and where we need to improve upon, and the good things and the bad things. So, and I know Lauren Cassini has worked hard on getting all this together for us. So I don't know if Susan wants to say something first, or you want to just...
Well, there's something called the state report card, and there's also something called the district profile and performance report. Both of those things, it takes approximately a whole year to get through all those items and to have it finalized. So we're talking about the data from FY25, so that was all the way last year. This year, we're in the middle of assessing or finishing up assessing kids, and that's for the FY26. And we start to get that data in the summertime, and then we're able to share it with the board by late summer, early fall. So it takes about a full year, but we will be able to show you the website that we've created, that Lauren has worked hard on, and show you where the report card exists from there so that you can see it. It's hard to make a copy of it, but we can show you where it is on the landing page. But we wanted to share with you all that we have received from the state and the updated information, and take you through that to show you how the state monitors every district and holds them accountable. It's called an accountability report.
Can I just, maybe just because of the way it says state report card and then our attachment's labeled a little differently, maybe in the minutes, if we can just refer to EdSite, or maybe link into EdSite, that way it doesn't get confusing, down the road for future reference.
And
But
I
it's,
think
that
you
it's
see-
basically the report card is off that site.
Right, and you can see it at the very end where she has the district page, and she's linked that all to the district page, to the district data dashboard. So we'll get through that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
at the end you
but
can see
really,
that.
the actual report card is the state report card, which is
Right,
that site.
right.
So,
So,
Lauren, when you're giving your report, if you're using abbreviations, can you spell it out?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Lauren.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. So, as we always do, we want to orient you to our strategic plan that was developed throughout last year with, a large group of individuals, all stakeholders, including board members, teachers, administrators across the district. This was our finalized plan, which went into full effect this year. And so from this point forward, we have certain indicators that we will use to measure our success in relationship to our plan. That plan includes 5 pillars, which range from academic, accelerated academics to community and culture and communication, increasing the workforce, and so on. And these are the key performance indicators that we will be using to, again, measure our success against our plan and how we're doing, and help us to figure out if we need to make any adjustments along the way.
Can you tell us what DPI means?
So DPI is your District Performance Index. Okay, so it's how, and we're going to get into this in a few minutes, but it's really the measurement of assessments and how students perform based on
in those core areas.
in those core areas. So it's specific to academics. Okay?
Mitch?
What do the stars mean?
So the stars are really on the accountability report. The measurements that we're looking at, these are the areas of our strategic plan that are addressed. So as an example, in our strategic plan, the academic areas, the accountability index, the district performance index, these are all measurements that we're using to base our success against the strategic plan. So the attendance is also another key performance indicator in our strategic plan, and so is the college and career readiness. And that is all found within this particular presentation that we're going to address tonight. So we're going to be looking at these measurements tonight. Make sense?
Can I ask anything?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So for behavior and communications and climate, those are not in our strategic plan.
They are in our strategic plan. They're not in the report we're going through tonight.
Okay.
We have other ways that we measure
So
that.
yes, we measure like
We
communications
measure all of that.
culture in a different way.
Yeah.
We will report that out to you. We typically do that over the summer for
Yeah.
culture surveys.
We have a survey that went out.
And so the report we're going through tonight is the Next Generation Accountability Report, and it's put out by the Connecticut State Department of Education, reminding everyone that our mission here in Groton is teaching and learning. So the Accountability Index is an overall target that's put out. Again, this is specific to the state of Connecticut and the Department of Ed. And so they created this accountability index really as it dates back to the ESSA, so Every Child Succeeds Act. And in order to determine their accountability, they came up with this criteria. Okay? And so the overall target for the entire accountability report is 85. Okay? And that's a point system. Now, within that accountability report, you're going to see different areas, different what we call indicators of success for our school district, for all school districts in the state. They're measured the same way. And we'll go through those indicators in a minute, which are on the right-hand side. But really, depending on the indicator, there are a certain amount of points that you can earn towards meeting that target in that particular indicator. And stop me if I'm confusing. I know there's a lot of lingo that goes along with this. And so the percentage of possible points earned is what makes up that accountability index, which ideally would be at 85. Okay? And performance on each indicator is measured against specific targets. So it's not the same target for every indicator. It changes depending on what we're looking at. So what I mean by that is if you look over on the right, there are specific indicators. We look at, or the state looks at and measures our success against our students' academic performance, okay, how they achieve. So are they on benchmark? Are they below benchmark? Are they approaching benchmark? That's one indicator of success. Another indicator that the state looks at is growth, right? So maybe depending on where they're performing, right, in terms of benchmark, are they making adequate growth, enough growth to move forward? So that's its own indicator. We're given a measurement or a score based on that.
Every child gets a growth target, and our kids know in middle school, really, by middle school, what that target is. And so we're looking at in a couple ways, and you're going to share that too.
And so there's a total of 12 indicators that the state scores us on, including high school graduation, college and career readiness, physical fitness. It's really all encompassing. So the purpose and the goal is, right, how are we performing as a district to really develop the whole child, right? So that's what these indicators really mean. And some of that are listed up here have more than one benchmark within them. That's why you don't see 12 bullets up there. So as in, yep. Yep.
What channel is this on? Because my wife is having trouble finding it, and if she might not be the only person, is that something Caitlin can answer there?
It's YouTube.
It's on a YouTube.
It's a YouTube video, right? It doesn't include YouTube.
Yeah, but I think it's online too. It should be on. Caitlin, did you hear that question? How can people watch this in real time?
So, wait, you want to do it? Or you want me to? I'll split. So, it's Andy. Hold on, I'll flip my camera on. So, currently, that's actually one of the reasons I'm here, is currently the district's regular YouTube account is banned from streaming or posting. Why is my video all messed up on me? So, we are banned for the next 6 days. We had a copyright issue that I can explain to you more later. We're going to work with Rebecca to post this on Facebook.
Okay.
And going forward, especially for graduation and other award shows and stuff like that, we're actually going to work. We're going to work with her to make sure that we're streaming in more than one spot, i.e. Facebook, Instagram for award shows as well as YouTube. But yeah, we are going to post on Google Drive, and then we'll give out the link for the Google Drive for this meeting and for any other meetings that are happening until next Monday. At next Monday, we should be good. Actually, it's next Sunday at 9 p.m. or something, or next Sunday at 8 p.m. is when our ban goes away. But yeah, we had a problem with varsity baseball playing music that was not licensed by YouTube, which I can explain more later.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yes. So
It usually is related to music, but that's kind of...
It affects our whole channel, unfortunately. So for the purposes of all the meetings from now until next Monday, we're going to work with Rebecca to post links to Facebook. Okay. And it'll be a Google Drive link.
Okay, thank you.
So there's no way for people to watch it live?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Not this whole week. Unless in theory they could join the Zoom meeting, I guess. But
Could they join the Zoom meeting as an attendee if anyone online wanted to?
right, yeah, they could join it as an attendee. Exactly.
You can just forward the email that we got.
But that's the only option we have because our YouTube thing is kind of messed up. We're going to fix any flaw first. I'm sorry to do that.
And they could also see the Zoom link would be posted, right? On the website.
Should be on the website.
Yeah, the Zoom link for now. If you go to the Groton Schools website right now, you can click on the Zoom link and join as an attendee. We actually have Kim Fahey and Laura Quashny and someone named Miranda as attendees.
That's our Miranda from Sundays.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's the new coordinator.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they can join the Zoom for now, and we are going to post it on we're going to work on, we've never posted a video to Facebook before that was this long, so we're going to post a link to Google Drive to Facebook is kind of the rough plan. But we got to touch base basically back. And next week it'll be fixed. And like I said, we are looking at slightly diversifying before the graduation in case, the promotions and graduations in case something bad happens. And like I said, Clay can tell you more. We sent some detailed plans about exactly what we're going to do to try to fix this in a way that it doesn't impact you guys going forward.
Okay.
Next time, can you give us a heads up?
Yeah, that would have been good to get a heads up.
It just happened.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
Yeah, like, we actually got, we ended up getting a third strike today. Or the second strike today. So yeah, it's literally as of about noon today, so sorry about that.
And it's after baseball.
During baseball today, exactly. So, we're really sorry though. I'm gonna go stop talking so you guys can do your meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize for...
No, that's okay.
I'm glad you made it.
At least it wasn't like doing his Huey Lewis last meeting.
Well, I wasn't there. You got to be square.
My question was, this overall target of 85, is that set by the state? Okay,
All of these targets are set by the state.
thank you.
And so what we're looking at here, and I think it's important to note that the accountability index, as I said, there's lots of indicators that make up this accountability index for the whole child and as a school system. And bits and pieces of it come out throughout the year. So you'll notice that you may see some information that you've already had an opportunity to look at and you've now been scored on it. And so when we're looking at the accountability index, we're actually looking at last year's performance, not this current year. And that's important to note for people who may not, work with this often. So what we're looking at is actually last year's performance and measurement according to the state. This year's, we're really just starting and we're just getting into our state assessments, or actually we're in the middle of our state assessment, so we won't have that information until, over the next few weeks and over the next few months, things will trickle out as they typically do.
Is this rated to K through 12?
Yes, this is the entire district.
So it's SBAC, NGSS, SAT, and all of those other things.
All the indicators, yes. And so, trend-wise, our accountability index over the last several years, before COVID, the highest index we had was 77 as an index number. There was a decrease after COVID, and we're slowly running back up. So how we scored this past year, so the 24-25 school year, was 70.2, which is a little reach from the year before. And remember, I'll keep repeating it, this is so much information, but remember that target is 85, and that target is ideally something we need to achieve by 2030.
And are we going to go over, sorry to ask, but are we going to go over that versus the state, like how the state's been coming back for the overall accountability index?
Wait, say that again. The cost compared to the state?
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. And so there's really two metrics when we're looking specifically at the assessment, that DPI, we talked about that district performance index. We have what's called the performance index, which takes all of the assessments in the district for a specific subject. So all of the students that were assessed in ELA, all of the students that were assessed in math, all of the students that were assessed in science, okay? So it's a composite summative assessment across all grade levels, and that score, that scale score that each student gets, is converted into a common scale, so that regardless of what assessment you're taking, so SATs is included in this, SBAC is included in this, right? They come up with a common way to common scale, and then they create this point system, so it's overall performance in a specific subject area. Whereas growth, academic growth, is how individual students are performing, how they're growing, right? So each child, if there's more than one data point, meaning they've taken the assessment before, they're taking it again, what is their target? How much do we want them to stretch between that first assessment and this next assessment? And that academic growth is determining, did they make it? And if they did or didn't, how close were they to it? So academic growth, and that's based on a target of 100%. Because ideally, we want all kids to be achieving 100% of their target.
And that's for any child who's in public schools in the state of Connecticut. And you know we have a lot of military children who are in schools in other states. So you might not get a growth measure on certain kids if they haven't been in our state the year before.
So this measures year to year.
Year to year.
Year, the growth does, yes.
good.
Yep. So and that was the whole point of the accountability index, right? So we're looking at all different ways to measure kids and how they're performing. Not just can they meet this benchmark, but maybe they're not at that benchmark yet. Are they making sufficient progress? Are they still growing and succeeding? It is important to note with the performance index, the only students that are included in that index are students that were part of the October 1 snapshot for PSIS. So in order to be included in this performance index, you had to be here on October 1 of the school year, and you had to take the assessment with us. And that's the group that
can be counted.
That can be counted.
What does indicator 1A, 1F mean, and then for the top one, and then 2A, 2F mean for the bottom one?
I'm glad you asked that. So those are the different indicators, okay? So if you remember, I said there are some indicators, there's maybe more than one part to it, right? And so there are these different indicators we have. So as an example, for ELA performance, our performance index, we look at all students, and then we look at a subgroup of high need students and how they're performing. We look at math performance of all students and then high need students.
And high needs, the definition.
Yes, and so when we're talking about high need students in terms of our school system, state, assessments, we're talking about students that have an IEP, so are part of a special education program, students that are learning a second language, English as a second language, and students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. So any combination of that, you may have students that have an IEP and qualify for free and reduced lunch. You may have one that fits into all three buckets. But if you belong in any of the buckets, you are considered a high-need student.
So, based on the free and reduced lunch, could we assume that high-need students are probably half of our students, or maybe even a little more?
And I like that you color-coded it to show when we made progress and when we did not. So green means go,
Yes.
and we made progress, and red means we took a little dip there.
Yes. And so let me just orient you to what this all means. So we have our indicator, right? This is what the state is looking at in terms of our performance. So as an example, ELA performance index, meaning how did all of our students, K-12, perform on summative assessments in language arts. And so you can see the next column has your index rate. That was from the 23-24 school year if we're going left to right. The next one is the 24-25, which was last year, which that's the accountability report we're looking at now. Okay. The target is what we had to get to earn the points we needed. And then the percentage of points earned is really literally that. Out of 75 target points, what's the percentage that we earned? So as an example, if we're looking at ELA performance index, during the 23-24 school year, you could see that our index was 65.2. It's green. That means that was up from the year before, the 22-23 school year. If you look at this year, last year, the 24-25 school year, our index was 63.7. So that is down from the year before, which is a little dip there. Okay.
So just based on this, and you said we have to meet this target by 2030, how many points, okay, so say 1C, the math performance index, we only went up 0.5. That's not going to get us there by 2030. So how many points do we have to get about a year to get us to that 75? Or what happens if we don't get to the 75?
That's a good question. I mean, depending on how you're performing each year, the state at times, you can become part of what's called the Commissioners Network, where they really come in and give you some intensive training, build a plan with the state. I was a part of that, and it was a successful plan, to be honest with you, but that's like a step at, like, if you're not making adequate progress every year, if you go a certain amount of years without making what they consider adequate progress, you could potentially end up in this, or apply for this Commissioners Network. If it continues even with that, you could become a turnaround school, but that's a very small percentage of the districts, and please jump in if you feel there's something else I need to add.
No, and the alliance districts, are kind of in there together based on the DIRG, and
Because I'm not a math major, but how many points do we have to get a year to get to the 75?
So I do have that. It's a little bit further back, and so it depends on, so based on the accountability index, which we have to get to 85, right? We averaged so for this school year, what the kids are doing right now, we're looking to earn about 4.5 points. And it's rigorous, like we understand that. And then after that, it's about 2.5 points every year. Or you can spread it out, right? Or you can spread it out a little bit more, right? Like, let's, as an example, which isn't going to happen because I know we can do it. But let's say we don't get to that 75 or 85 for the accountability. I'm sorry, let me start over. But that accountability index, let's say we don't hit 75 next year, we would have to readjust that target to figure out how much do we need the following years to get to that 85.
Well, we have implemented with wisdom the first year K-5. We're going to be doing that K-8, and we'll have a lot of professional development. Same thing with mathematics K-8. And we did, that should really, we should start seeing significant growth. But even with implementation, it might lag the next year or so.
But what do they say? It typically takes roughly 3 years to start to see the effects of like a new programming, curriculum, teachers learning it and really becoming comfortable. Is it 4?
No, I said we only have 4 to reach the target. So it takes 3 years.
But they're already in the process, right? So what we did notice about ELA, 2 grades in particular seem to impact that score where we did have that dip for ELA, and that was grade 8 and grade 3. So both ends.
What grade was it?
Grade 8 and grade 3 had significant dips in that ELA performance index.
Mitch, go ahead.
Have we ever been at the target?
No.
Nobody was.
Not many, to
Not
be
many.
quite honest, there aren't many districts, particularly alliance districts, there are none that have met the target. Even some of the stronger districts, many of the stronger districts still aren't there. So, I mean, it's a rigorous goal, and we're working to get there.
What do you mean by a stronger district?
East line, I think,
Where there's,
is hitting a lot of these.
where there may not be as many needs, and that was the wrong word, you're right, glad you called me out on that. You're totally right, but where there may be less needs and more funding, or,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
And then this target for 2030, that has been moved, right? Correct? Since this system has been implemented, wasn't it originally like 26 or 27?
No, I don't.
We were supposed to.
I think originally before COVID, we were thinking we could get there a few years before.
The state code?
I think
No, I'm talking the state requirements, not our.
No, I need to go back and look. I thought it was always 2030, but I may be wrong. Let me double check on that.
Oh, have the process.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. Same goal.
In terms of science as well, grade 8 really had a significant dip there, which played into our decrease for this year. That's
What about math? Did you say what math was?
math had some nice increases, which is where we see that grading where we've gone up in our index. And I do want to, actually going back to the ELA, grade 4, grade 7, and grade 11 for language arts all had some really nice increases as well. So while we had a couple grade levels that really struggled, there were some that did well, that had some good increases. So,
What were they in grade 4?
grade 4, grade 7, and grade 11.
It's interesting, the ones transitioning in, like the grade 3, grade 6, you know, it's a little tougher.
Language.
For the green, for math and science, those aren't really big increases. It's 0.5 for math, and for the science, I'm doing my math right here, it's 1. So, okay.
Yep, slight increases there. And so, looking at, is that presented, does that seem small to you guys?
Laura, can I ask you,
Yeah.
you told us about ELA, what about math? What were the dips in math? Do you have that?
The dips in math, I believe it was grade 8, but I don't have, and I don't know why I didn't write this down. I do not write what the dip was, the index, but I'll go back and look at that for math.
And can you do the same for science?
And for science, I do have, it was grade 8, and it was from 59.6 to 55.8. So we had a dip there.
That's a big difference.
But I do have to, speaking a little bit to that grade 8, which does come up later, I know this year they've really done, they've really stepped up in terms of getting students onto the computer, giving the IABs, which is part of their these interim assessments that are very similar to the NGSS questions that they're required to take, giving them more exposure to those, kind of talking them through how they might respond to or where the answer would come from, how you go about navigating and figuring out a problem like that. So they really increased the number and exposure for grade 8. And then with the idea that we're now extending our K-5 STEM coordinator to K-8 for next year to provide some of that vertical alignment and really begin to get them working and looking at the data and like making those small changes. I see big things happening there.
And while we have the grant also, Sarah Beth will be helping support middle school as they take on some wisdom. She's already helped with that too.
Yeah. So ELA performance index. So I know, I try to go back every year after we have these meetings the following year. I'd like to go back to the meeting the year before to see what were your questions, what were the things that may have confused you, what did you want to know more about. And last year, you wanted to know more about those non-high needs versus high needs and how we performed to the state. So I tried to embed some of that in here. And again, if there's ever something that you need to know more about, I can get that for you. But we are in line, ELA Performance Index. Our high need students, we have outperformed the state by a little bit, and it's been consistent over time that we outperform the state. In terms of our non-high need students, if you look at them, we have been right in line with the state and at goal. If you notice that 75 goal for ELA performance. Last year, there was a little dip of ours. So we did perform a little bit lower last year. But really what this helps us to see is that the targeted interventions that we do include, they pay off, right? Because typically our high need students typically need the most support, right? So with that and with the interventions that are identified for students, we really look closely at like how each kid is performing, at what level, who are those cusp kids, like right on the border, who's really far behind, what do they need supports with, and that's how they make determinations about which kids need support, what kind of support, and to what extent. So based on this, the fact that we're continually able to keep above the state with our high need students, our interventions are are strong. I mean, we're always going to want to improve and continue to strengthen, right? And help to identify students, but overall, that's a consistent pattern in our district that we're able to provide those supports for students.
And if you see that 2019, right before we closed for COVID, was probably the best year we've had. So it always is, let's get back there and then move forward, right?
And so, are you looking at the non-high needs? Honestly,
No, wait a minute, I think she was just about to talk about that.
Oh, we need to take a closer look at what's that piece. I mean, they're at goal, but we have this little dip, and we don't want to ever forget anyone, right? So even if they're on par for where they need to be, how are we going to continue to stretch them? And so that's the next piece, right? In the intervention, we also need to always think about like that enrichment for students as well, because that's how you keep them engaged, right? So we can't, it would be remiss for us not to mention that we may need to take a little look at that and see like what happened there, and can we, you know, what are our steps for that to make sure all kids are getting what they need.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing up that they've been actually showing our success compared to state behind needs report for that. That did though, that's the biggest change for that whole time series. So it's concerning because it's not so, it looks a little there, but it's bigger than any change, even except for, maybe even including bridging COVID.
It's 4.6.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah. Did you see where the dip, what caused the dip? Is it a certain grade level?
You know, I didn't go back and look at the grade level on that dip, and I will.
Yeah, that's a big dip.
Yeah, it was the first year that we really implemented the Wisdom Elementary. And they're getting so much more comfortable with it. I can see it when we're doing our focus walks. And then we'll be having the middle school do that, but it's time that they do something different. So I'm excited about that. And I think we're going to see, you know, see it back and then further.
Seems to me we got an awful lot writing on wit and wisdom. And being on the curriculum committee, I'm very concerned about that.
Well, it's more than that. It's the science of reading that they've taken on, and it's the phonics program and the Haggerty and starting early, and there's a lot of ingredients to it. But the program has been identified to the state of Connecticut as really focused on the science of reading and grammar and a lot of other pieces that are needed. So I think we're headed in the right direction with that.
It is a concern though, that kid. We can't read also.
Yeah, it's important to call it out. I mean,
It is.
you know, so really looking at the why behind it, and, you know, like Susan did say though, there are certain things that do play into that, right? There was, the wit and wisdom was new and it was piloted, and then the training that took place, and I believe it was during this year where a lot of that training occurred, correct? So ideally, we will see that come back up this year, right? I mean, ideally. But it isn't just the wit and wisdom, it's also, there were also pieces of Haggerty that were new to many grade levels, and Youth Fly and that comedic awareness, and then that pre-K, right? Like offering pre-K to more students. Getting them early, you're building more vocabulary, more foundational skills. So there's so many like layers and pieces to the success of our students, which is why it's so important to start young. So.
Yeah, just one more thing. Can you explain, because, you know, these numbers aren't summative of the entire district. I believe they start with grade 3 and go to grade 8. Is that all we're looking at here?
No.
High school.
The high school as well. So grade 3, you're right. So in terms of this, it's grade 3 because these are when the summative assessments take place. So it's grade 3 through grade 11, which is SAT.
3 through 8 and 11.
Oh, so the SATs are
Yep.
3 through 8 and 11, so this doesn't have 1, 2, 9, 10, 12.
Right.
So, you know, so it's not totally encompassing.
Yeah, but will we see a difference if it did encompass the right?
I'm curious to see, so one thing that, kind of point out is this year, well, in 25, we had, some struggles in grade 8, and now we're not going to know how they did for 2 more years, like how they, where they achieved in high school until the junior year.
No, because we do take the PSATs, so freshmen and sophomores also take the PSATs. It
Fall
doesn't
and
go-
spring.
Fall and spring, yes. It doesn't go towards our accountability, but as, as educators, we look at that and we tease that out. So yes, we can.
So does the board get do we go over that with the board, the PSATs?
I believe Matt typically does that in the fall when he comes in and reports on his school. He includes PSATs, he includes SATs, I believe he includes AP exam.
Yeah, so maybe, I would be curious to see when the PSATs are reported to have broken out a little bit by grade or something.
I think they are, but we'll double check with them.
Yeah.
So on page 7, right, it says performance index, right? It says all grade levels. So actually, it's not all grade levels. It's grade 3 through 8 and grade 11.
You're right. It should say all summative assessments across all grade levels, right? So it's assessed grade levels. So that, we can change that to be clear.
Take out the word all.
Yeah, because I go K through 12.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm glad somebody put it, because it's grade 3 to 8 and 11.
And grade 11 for the performance index, yes. Yep. And so math, again, high needs versus non-high needs. In the green, you can see that the high needs in math, Groton's continues to remain above the state. For our non-high needs, we are just below the state.
And that's another big dip in 2024, 25.
It's 5 points.
69.8 to 69.7. Are you talking about the gap between?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's fast. Yeah.
On this one, so here's like the, on the left, you've got very encouraging. I mean, if the amount of time and dedication goes into having high needs scores like that is paying off. And of course, there's still a gap right between high needs and non-high needs that we should continue to try and close. But then the non-high needs they're consistently below the state, which then, of course, is hurting our accountability. This score in this realm what do you think are the causes for that? The
Core
drivers?
instruction, we're going to lift the core instruction. You won't need as much more, but you're going to lift it for everybody. And that's what we're doing. K-8 with math and ELA. And science, some of the work Ben has done. So that's really what has to happen.
And I was wondering, is there some built-in challenge to have basically roughly 50-50 non-high needs, high needs classroom, that some of the gap closing is drops down the non-high needs students, not purposefully, but just, it's hard. I mean, I know there's interventions and extra staff and faculty to help some high needs students, not others. But it must be hard to teach one classroom with so many divergent needs, whether it's not high needs or not. I'm just trying to, so it's easy to say we need to do better with a non-high need. What scores up relative to state. But is some of it sort of built in with the kind of the composure of our district? That's my question. That's what I was wrestling with when I looked at these over the weekend.
So we do have college and honors classes, as you know, and we have a lot of IB, AP, ECE, and we've really strengthened that by the number of kids taking the courses and taking the test, and now being more successful taking the test. So I see when you lift that, that's kind of lifting your core up, and then you're going to get better results. You know.
So that's high school. That shows up in the career readiness, as we'll see. Some partially at least, but this is more these, are you meeting standards at these different grade level checkpoints?
Yeah.
I personally would like to see this maybe the other side. We don't really do anything for talented and gifted except send a letter. I was wondering if that could help. Have some talented and gifted programs. But that's just a thought. I don't think that would be the main driver. The absence of talented and gifted programs, it could help. But potentially. But just if I saw high needs below, say, if they don't, we know what more tutors, right? We still need that to decrease the gap because those high needs are right around 50, 60%, and the non-high needs are around 70%. So there's still a gap that needs to be closed, but the non-high needs I'm concerned about, but we're kind of at loss for what we're doing.
We've been pretty stagnant for the last 4 years, actually. Not much growth.
As the state slowly works out.
You mentioned as a mitigation for this, if I understood it correctly, you talked about IB and AP and similar programs. What about your average student who is not a high needs student? Are we forgetting about those people?
No, they start with college level and they can go up to honors, but I think also high quality instruction is setting standards that kids can raise up to, that really have, high expectations in every classroom. And I think what I've seen with some of these new curricular rollouts, that's the expectation for all kids in the classroom, is that the level of expectation is increased in ELA, in math, and in science. So the work that they're doing day to day in the classroom has gotten more challenging. And I think that is what lifts it up. So you're always going to have to support kids along the way. There'll be kids who get it right away, kids who need a little more extra help. But I think if you set that standard high and that expectation high, you get results.
Thank you.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, it's just such a consistent, offset as that's widening gap. I think this is worth a further attention drilling down on whether more math specialists in elementary levels would help, and your subject-based teacher when you get to middle school. So, for instance, what grades are particularly driving? There must be some grades that are probably better than others at this. If you know that, then what can we do to help?
And of course, the principals get the data of every child and every teacher, and they work with them, and they help support them.
I will say something.
Yeah.
So, thinking that of the age, this is largely like elementary and middle school. My guess is that differentiated education becomes very tough for a sole teacher in a classroom of 22 kids or whatever our average is. And just like Mike's saying here, we may even have tutors, probably not enough. But so I think this is a great question for teachers, because I think they could probably talk about the non-high needs, the kids that really shouldn't need the extra help, why they're kind of lagging behind. And I have a feeling that in many cases it's just because the teachers are bogged down with the amount of differentiated instruction that they have to provide. But that would be my guess. I'd be curious to know if that was accurate.
I saw the same thing on page 11.
And we need that information.
I would say ask the teachers. I don't know if you've got that's not really in the climate survey, is it?
but I can, we can certainly look at we've done those coffee chats before for other things, so, we do get people to come out and talk about things.
Even if, APS said,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely, especially in math, there has been needs identified. They started the pilot for Western Math. So that's now a new piece to this, providing that professional development. At the middle school level, the building 50 classrooms, which has really been more consistently, and please tell me if there's anything I'm missing, but I do think it is like that professional development, that flexibility with math, like being able to have a good math brain knowledge there, right? Be able to be flexible with kids, like they really understand where they're losing their understanding. So looking at that student work and being able to say, oh, it has to do with computation versus this versus that, right? And be able to be flexible in that in your instruction too. And it's a hard thing to do, really, right? So continuing that professional development, helping teachers become comfortable with being able to do that and knowledgeable of those pieces. It's ongoing work for sure.
how long has the state been having an accountability report card?
In 2020, I don't know that we started in 2014. That's when we started the SBAC, 2013, 14.
I think
So it started back then. Did we ever reach goal?
No, nobody did.
I don't worry about it. Nobody. I'm just worried about us. Did we ever reach goal? And how were the scores back then?
that I don't know. I would have to go back and look that far back.
All I know is 2019 was the best we had done, because I got to 2014. We had had 2 DODEA grants, one in literacy and one in mathematics. There was a lot of professional development and new programs and new curriculum, and we saw really good results. But then, after COVID and through the years, we learned more, and I think moving towards the way where we're moving with ELA and math, I think should show us the same kind of jump in scores.
Can I get that information on X site going back to 2014?
I don't know if it goes that, you might be able to. I don't know if it goes that all the way back to 2014.
We can call
but I
that
should
sheet.
look.
How far back do you think it goes?
At least to the 2017.
2017.
I was looking at that even the other day, so it was at least that. I don't know about 14. I can go in and look.
They used to have a scale, it was just a 0 to 100 scale, and then they changed it to these indexes, which makes it more complicated in my mind. It was much easier when you could look at a number and actually measured something rather than just a conglomerate.
Right.
Of things that you can't parse out. You can
Any other questions on page 10? Moving along to page 11.
So similar thing happening here. High needs versus non-high needs. So we have in terms of the science again, looking at giving students more exposure to those IEPs, having that expansion of the STEM coordinator, looking to just have more vertical alignment, more exposure, looking to target some science instruction on the assessments.
Yeah, I was just wondering how each one, yes, it's good to see, again, we're at or above, you can see average sort of high needs, but our numbers are going kind of regress progressively down over the last couple of years there. Is that big enough to be significant? Like that 54.4, 53.6, and 52.5? I guess it probably is. It's like a non-high needs. We're declining and then we went down this year, but we might want to go up again next year. It's not clear.
I'm curious about the cohort from year to year, so.
And remember, they only take the science test in grade 5 and 8.
8 and 11. And so I am curious about that cohort of kids and how that same group in 5th grade performed in 8th grade.
We can look into that. I know Ben is working with them doing the interim assessments throughout the grades. So grades 3, 4, and 5 will do interim assessments so that kids early on learn about the science assessment. And it's pretty intricate because there's a lot of reading and writing, and there's laboratories they have to do online. So it's pretty comprehensive. It's more than just a science test. It's a math test and it's a literacy test as well. So I think having that practice with the interim assessments is really crucial. And I know he's doing that also with the middle school science team. And he's talked to Caitlin about making sure science classes at the high school are also doing the SBAC or the next generation science standards and assessing.
Is it like on a state report on the ed site? Can we see that breakdown, like between, so you said 5, 8, and 11?
Yes.
You can actually look at those specific ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd be curious to see like how we're doing each level.
Now it makes fun about it.
And this is just married kids. My sense was, and this was years ago now, there wasn't too much science instruction really in the elementary levels. It naturally goes up from there. So that might be true in every district. Just like that. I'll be looking at that.
Yeah,
It's readily
you can look at the individual grades. You can also look at them by school and then filter by different populations as well. So different ages versus special education. So yes, there are lots of filters to work with. Just keep in mind that if it's a low number, sometimes there's just an asterisk.
Which has a question?
Actually, it's two things. One is an observation. I happen to consider personally ELA, math, and science to be the three most important components of the education our students get. And I'm very disturbed by the trend I see here for the non-high needs. The other thing is this a pattern? And I know you had said you were concerned about us, not anybody else. I am too, but just out of curiosity, is there a similar trend going on throughout the state for other districts?
Well, you can see that trend. I guess maybe I need clarification. Do you mean specifically with the non-high needs? Because you can see as a state average where they are, that is the trend. So they're kind of flatlining. They had a little bump this year. But that is that state trend.
That's kind of why we do the double line there, Mitch, so you can kind of see the average of the state with our average. And of course, I'd rather have our green line much higher above the state in both areas. But it does show you the trend for both the state and for us.
What about alliance districts?
I was just going to say, so if you were comparing us with like districts,
You have a slide on that.
we do. We have a slide on it. I don't think it breaks it down to this extent. But we tend to be on the higher end of performance within those like districts.
Okay, thank you.
And so the next indicator is academic growth. The target is always 100%. And again, Again, it follows the same sort of pattern in this chart, right? You have your indicator on the far left, the far left, and then moving over was our accountability index the year before, in 23-24, our accountability index for last year, our target, and then how many points we earned. So you can see that we had all increases in academic growth in the 23-24 year. This year, we had a slight dip in the ELA growth and then our loss links, which is specific to an assessment specific to our students who are learning English as a second language. And that specifically has to do with the oral language. Now, based on the growth, grade 5, grade 6, and grade 8 had dips that really impacted our 24, 25 growth. Grade 8 in particular had a 14.9% decrease.
And there's a phenomenon there because in 8th grade, we have at least 5 sections filled with honors algebra. And that's the grade level that you would expect. And we also advance them in 7th, so they get more rigorous mathematics. But that's not showing evidence that we have that happening unless maybe we've gone through the middle school mathematics. Because this is, SBAC really looks at middle school mathematics. So could we be rushing them? You know, we have more questions, so they're going to be looking at that more closely, the teachers with administrators, to see why is that phenomena happening, and disaggregating those honor algebra kids and seeing how they're doing.
And so this, like, at an individual student level, this is sort of like matters most to them and informs the teachers involved, right? This is, okay, you're showing growth, you're not, you're different, like, threshold levels. Okay, that's where they can work, something meaningful that they can work with on a student level. And although I look back at last year's presentation, even though we've got some areas in red down from last year, we're still up higher in growth than 2 years ago, for instance. Does growth actually get somehow folded into the overall index?
Yes, these are all indicators, so all of these combined create an accountability index.
I think the next page also shows a little more insight to growth because either, if you get 100% of your growth, whatever that target is, I made that target, yay. But then there's another way to look at it, and it's the percentage of growth that I made.
Right.
So there could be kids who make 3/4 of their growth, and they get credit for that. So that's it's kind of an interesting way, but I do know that kids are aware of their growth targets by middle school.
And to that point, this really is what teachers really look at. They know the targets the kids are all trying to make, regardless of how they perform. And remember, based on your grade level and how you performed the previous year, right, determines how many points you have to make it the next year to be considered making your target, right? And so teachers really talk to kids about that. So obviously in grade 3, that's your first year, you're taking something assessment. You're not included in this. And there's been no growth target. I've got 2 data points. So this actually begins at grade 4, right? Because now we have our grade 3 score. How many points do we need to get to in grade 4?
So is growth, if a student is right at state average in grade 3 in ELA, 100% growth would be being right at state average in grade 4, or where would it be?
So it's specific to the scale score and grade level. so it's a range, right? So if you are considered at grade level, right, there's a range that you're in to be considered at grade level.
Yeah, but we'll say that number is 700, and then I forget that scale number.
Yep.
But the grade, so then in grade 4, it's presumably harder, but say the average is still 700. So, for the being at grade level, at that bottom number on the at grade level, be included in that. You know what I'm saying? So the bottom number, say the bottom number in the at or above grade level is 700 for grade 3. 700 for grade 4, it's the same at or above. We know that it changes a little bit, but would that be 100% growth because you've learned 1 year of information that, how much growth is that? Is that 0? Because you just kept up with grades?
No, it literally, there's a number of points you have to get. So depending on whatever that score is that you're given, you have, like, let's say 12 points you have to make for the next year. Logically, right, if you're at grade level and your target is 12 points, you're still going to be at grade level. You're not going to go backwards, right? You're still going to be at grade level because you've made the points necessary. You've hit that target. So logically, you stay at grade level. You may even be right on the cusp of above grade level, right? If you're hitting that target every year.
Well, and I think you break it down to the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
In order to make growth, you can't stay at a 1. You need to, we're always trying to move them up to the next band.
Right.
So that would be the kind of growth that is expected.
Did I answer that for you?
Kind of, I think it's measuring is difficult.
And I do think
It's not easy. No, it's
I
complicated.
think I had sent you, just to kind of wrap your brain around it, like a visual where it shows like grade 4, if you're in this band, you have this target points you have to get. I can resend that just to kind of, I'm just a visual learner, so if it helps, might help answer your question, and if you still have a question, you can shoot me an email, but I'm happy to do that so you can see those targets.
Do we have a sense of why the state set for just this one target, 100%? I can see, that would be wonderful, like every student is growing their education from 1 year to the next, but it seems practically impossible to actually hit 100%.
Do they ever get 101%?
They can't,
Onto the target, though.
Oh, for the target?
This is like our
No,
district. That should be everyone showing growth, right, as I interpret it.
well, so no, because it doesn't necessarily have, it's so,
Really?
I feel like I'm about to take you down a rabbit hole, but, so we have students, the target is 100%, and I think the rationale is we have students that are going to hit their target. We have students who may not get to their target, but we also have students who may surpass their target. And so it's like this average. Yes.
That's the next page that helps us.
So, yeah, let me show you.
Showing that 709. I just want showing it
Wait, I'm sorry?
showing. Keep going the meeting at 709.
So last year you had inquired about the different, what we call levels, right? Like how students are performing. And so what we know is there's 4 main groups in performance, right? You have a group of students who are performing below grade level, our group that's approaching grade level, our students who are at grade level, and then our students who are exceeding grade level.
And that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's 4 bands that they could fall in. And then and we do this as teachers in our classroom too, we start to look at, where did you fall in that band? So I'm in the level 1 band, meaning I'm performing below grade level, but where did my students fall? Are they on the bottom of that scale? Are they on the top? Like they just need to bump to get over into that approaching? And so that's what this is showing you. So you'll see level 1 low, level 1 high, right? So it's the different ends of that scale, that band, okay? And what you were wondering last year is, how are those students that are below grade level, how is their growth compared to those students who are above grade level or at grade level? And if you look at this particular slide, it's interesting. So the blue it's our growth rate, meaning yes, my student made it, no, my student did not in that particular category, okay? So that's a yes or no question. They either made it or they didn't. The green is our average percentage of the target achieved, meaning how close did we get as a group, how close did we get to meeting our target? And so what you can see is in both ELA and math, there's two distinct groups, the level 1 low and the level 4 high. So polar bands, right, which kind of goes to what you were saying, Adrian, about, right, that differentiation and that wide range within one classroom. Because you do, that's what we're looking at here, right? That's your wide range of where students fall in any given class.
And your high, your level 4 high, too.
Yes, so your level 4 high and your level 1 low. And then if you look in the middle, that level 2, remember, that's our approaching. So that level 2 high means they're just on we call those our cusp kids, meaning they're just on the cusp of making benchmark, of being where they need to be at grade level, right? And that's typically where we target many of our interventions.
Has this changed since last year?
This is what we have, this is last year, so we don't have this year's yet because
I mean, from the prior year, has this changed? I mean, those kids that are approaching, what did they do from last year to the year before that?
I think this is kind of trendy. I think this is pretty, but we can look at that.
yes, so
Because those are the kids we're always targeting. Even when I was on the board in 1994, we were targeting those kids.
CMT.
I call them on the fence. They were on the fence. They either go forward or backwards. And we always do targeting them. So I just want to see if we're making any movement. We're moving them off of that fence onto the side of the fence where we're moving them.
for sure, and I use Mystic River as a good example because that was really, he built his goals last year around specific groups of students and they really focused their energy and paid close attention to how those students were performing throughout the year, right? In the classroom, and then the interventions they were given, it was specific. They really targeted the students who have English as a second language. And based on his targeted interventions and the monitoring that he did, those kids, a good percentage of them made their target last year. That was part of his goal. So that's just that's a good example that pops into my head immediately. So yes, I do believe it works. And then we look at those, that level 1 low group, that level 1 high group, right? Typically, those are students who are receiving specialized or targeted instruction as well.
This made me think, because Adrian brought up differentiated teaching, And with students, do they have that in their curriculum, differentiated teaching? Or is everybody doing the same thing?
No. There's differentiation. I don't know what it looks like exactly.
However, they are in grade level text. So that's what I'm saying. When you raise the core and you give them grade level text, and they might get support with that grade level text, but they're reading, at grade level.
So differentiated would be if somebody in that class, like, which is in 3rd grade, but he's reading on a 5th grade level.
Yeah, you are.
What in wisdom will help Mitch?
Well,
That was what
I would say
because he was differentiated teaching.
it may be more in written wisdom that they would have various other texts that you could be using in addition to. So Mitch might be an avid reader and then would be reading even more texts that around the same topic. So they still do have independent reading and varied reading to help kids to go beyond and to catch up.
And that's really what your small group instruction, right? It becomes during that time, or in some cases, we've got those blocks that we have for the intervention, or enrichment.
Do we ever send students, like say Michigan, he's on 5th grade, do you ever send him to a 5th grade class for reading? Or say Adrian can do high-level math in 3rd grade, and we send him to 5th grade to do this high-level math?
I know there has been some work with the math specialist and reading specialist, and that, again, is a small group. Whether it's to get them up to grade level or, even beyond, there has been some enrichment opportunities for kids. I know of one is a few specifically in that.
I'm going to pretend I'm still at work. And one of my engineers has come up to me with the answer to a problem and wants me to sign off on it. And I say to them, walk me through this, and where would we, and I don't expect you to walk me through every scenario. Let's take, for example, the bottom one for ELA. Where do we want these bars to be? That's what I thought you were going to say. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions on the stage? Anybody online have any questions?
No. It's very edifying.
So our chronic absenteeism, we had a slight increase this last year compared to the year before. The target is to be under 5% chronic absenteeism. And the points we earned, you can see 39.4 and 11.2. So we had an increase from the year before.
And an increase is a decrease, and a decrease is an increase, if you really want to be best in the head.
Because of chronic absenteeism, we want it to be reduced. That's the number we want to be as low as possible. And so really, as part of the strategic plan and work around attendance, it's been rigorous this year. We've had someone coming in and working with all the schools in the district on attendance, Tier 1 interventions versus Tier 2 and 3, and developing those. We've updated the attendance policy. Each school and the district all participate in attendance meetings, looking directly at individual students, where they are on a chronic absenteeism list, what's going on, how to get them off and family supports and so on. So it's been an intense year for attendance, and we're going to look at that closely later. But I do anticipate this to again, be where we want it to decrease for next year, or for this year.
So if I'm reading this correctly, for school year 24-25, which is, I realize is last year, for all students, we generally had only 80% of the population in school, 20% were not here, and then it's much worse for the high needs. That's a tremendous.
You have to define chronic.
Yeah, so, yeah, because I don't want you, so there's two different things we look at with attendance. One is called the ADA, right, average daily attendance. How many kids are coming to school on average every day? And that's up near like 95%. That's the goal, and that's typically where the buildings across the district are at. When we talk about chronic absenteeism, we're talking about students who, depending on the number of days enrolled in the school year, have 10% or more of absences. So, as an example, if you have the flu in September, right, there's 20 days of enrolled membership for that year so far, right? You are automatically chronically absent. Is that 21 days? You've been absent 5 days, you're chronically absent, you're on our list, right? Now, let's say that same student, this is no more school the rest of the year, they are there every day. They pretty quickly come off of that list because their absences remain the same, that number five, right? But the number of days they're in school is getting bigger, so the percentage shrinks. So they are no longer considered 10% or more, and they come off the chronic absences list.
Okay, so in the beginning of the year, you'll have different numbers than you will
Yes,
as
each
you get deeper in.
Right.
But 18 at the end of the year out of 180 puts you on the list.
Right.
And you'll see trend data in her next presentation that kind of shows you the months that there's been more illness. We also have kids who don't get on the bus and the parents can't drive them in. That's a problem. Or parents who keep kids home to babysit little children, or parents who take them to Disney a couple times a year, not on vacation. So there's lots of reasons. Or we've had families that travel abroad because they live in other countries, and they'll take the family for a month, and that really is, you get a lot of chronic absenteeism for that. You get a lot of days for that.
But the schools have really, I mean, this has been a major focus for them this year. The school that probably struggles the most and continue to support it in the high school. It's a different animal. But
Would it be fair, is it fair to like separate the students who are definitely have a legitimate reason to be absent because, like you said, they had the flu, I don't know how the flu, but they had the flu, as compared to what Susan's saying, people that went to Disney and whatever, that went on vacation. How did that look? I want to know.
so, and just because I mentioned the high school, the attendance team up there, which is, Hodge really does a great job of leading that. They meet every week. A different team meets every week to look at those students, make contact with them. Who are they? Why were they out? And then they put them on different lists and provide interventions for them. So you could literally look at her list and know which students went on vacation, and that's why they're on the list. Who's creeping up over the year, like 3 days here, 3 days there. Who's a medical emergency. So it's, it's kind of that, in that situation, is out of their control, right? It's a medical need. But she could tell you just about every child that's chronically absent, the reason behind it.
And the state defines it as excused or unexcused, so we have a definition for it.
And that's the difference. So with chronic absenteeism, the state does not care why you're not in the seat. You're not in the seat. You're missing instruction. Versus truancy, which is different. It's different, right? That's looking at unexcused specifically.
And how does that look for us?
Our truancy has decreased over the years. So truant is your unexcused absence 4 times in a month or 10 times in a year. So meaning you didn't have a phone call, there was a doctor's note, they were not excused. Our trend has been going down since 2022. We were up over 30%, then we're down to about 27% now for truancy.
About 27%.
But unlike chronic absenteeism, you don't come off the list. If you're truant, you're truant.
Yeah.
If you're truant in September, you're still truant because you missed that mark. You had 4 or more unexcused in that month. So that's the difference. And we don't put as much of a weight on that truancy as we do chronic absenteeism.
I think so. I'm trying to absorb all of this.
I know.
It's so overwhelming. There's so much information.
So I think in at least middle school, high school, maybe the elementary schools, attendance is taken more than once during the day. How does that, so do you have to miss a whole day of school to have it count against you, on a good day? Or if you miss the first half, does that hit you worse than the last half? Or do you have to actually miss a whole day of school? I felt like, no.
That's a great question, actually. So defined by the state, an absence is you're missing 50% or more of the instructional school day. So in Power School, which is our student information system, there's a calculation in there that actually does that work for you. So at the high school level, where they're taking attendance every period, right? Or you may clock in, there's clock-ins and clock-outs, and it's adding up that time. So it's literally like a calculation there. Versus at the elementary elementary level where it's just a day, but there's a certain amount of time. So if you make it to 11, 12, right, you've been there 50% of the day, I'm going home, you're not absent now. Versus you didn't make it quite that 50%. So yeah, it does look at that.
And you said instructional day, does that subtract out recess or lunch, which I can have to be very learning experiences?
That's a good question. I would actually want to say that I have to look into that. I have to go back and look in Power School and see what the calculations it takes out. It may take out, I don't know. I'll go back and look.
I just have a suggestion, just based on personal experience, and it's only for the high school. Sometimes kids aren't in school because they're like not actually in the school building because they're doing something else school related, not a field trip normally. Actually, sometimes a field trip. Like they're out somewhere for like band or something like that. So they're performing school functions, they're just not in their classes. And I have before gotten like the automated, your child was absent today from that. Like so they knew ahead of time, and so I just call, leave a message. I'm sure it's changed. But if I didn't call, leave a message, would that then count as an absence? Hurt our overall statistics? It seems like they're not somehow there's the machinery about if someone's on a field trip, but now they're not in class, so they're not in my class, so I'm marking as absent.
I'm sure there's human error.
But it goes like I don't know. It seems like it's two different parts of the machinery, and by the end of the school day, sometimes I'm getting back note that they're absent. Like what? And, they should be here. And so I was wondering if that could be looked into, particularly at the high school level, where we have I think the biggest attendance challenge.
I got one or two of those notifications in the last week.
Yeah.
But then your child was in school doing something else, but I still got this class, this period.
Yeah, AP tests would do it too. And
We should tell math is.
anything that triggers it.
Say nobody's there.
Well, no, I knew they were there, so I didn't. I wasn't worried.
I'll have them.
Yeah, but I did get notified that, I forget what it was, if it was a field trip or an AP test or something.
Because they shouldn't be marked absent. They wouldn't be marked absent from school. It wouldn't count as an absence.
But let's
So
find out.
they're getting phone calls.
Sometimes it's period by period, like absent from such and such a period. I know they were there, suffering, taking a test or something.
Yeah.
Or a long lunch, maybe. Probably not that.
Different years.
I'm just wondering if it was in, I need to look into that, because that it shouldn't count as an absence.
Yeah, it just seems like the two books aren't talking to each other.
Any other questions on we can do college and career?
College and career, yeah. So college and career, percent taking courses. So as a reminder, this is where you either take 2 AP with higher level courses. So whether it's AP, IB, or dual credit. Yep. Or you take 2 CTE classes or 2 workplace experiences like EMT as an example, or nursing, and rising. Those all count towards that. So this.
So they have to take 2, I'm sorry.
No, it's 2
APs
or IBs.
or IBs
Or dual credit.
or you credit.
I know.
Or the combination.
Or yes, or a combination. Yes.
Is that just assessed, this is only high school stuff that's on that?
So now this is specific to high school, yes.
Is it assessed for 12th graders only because they will have had,
No,
This is 11th and 12th.
11th and 12th? Okay.
Yeah, so this is 11th, and maybe I need to do that for next year, is specify the grade levels next year.
And you said CTE?
Yep.
Makes you know what CTE is. So can you tell us what CTE is?
Career tech education. So like your career pathways, your career tech courses.
And so we had a nice increase in the number of students participating in those courses. And then we've also had a nice increase in the percent of students that are passing the exams associated with those courses.
Which is really good to see, because sometimes when you raise the number, you might not see as many passing, but we're starting to see that the raised number and better scores.
Just a quick one. To be considered college and career readiness, if I understood this correctly, you have to, and I thought I heard you, Beverly, clarify this, you need either 2 APs or 2 IBs. What if you're in a regular class?
Well, you can be in a career pathway class, right?
The dual credit AP or IB, so a higher level course, CTE, which are those tech ed courses, or a workforce experience like nursing, EMT. So there's lots of combinations. So yeah, that's how you earn points there.
How many, what percentage of our students are in this category? It doesn't know which is question with these.
96%.
96% of our students are taking AB, AP, IB, CTE, dual credit. Okay.
And that's specific to 11th and 12th graders. Yep.
Okay. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
So I have one question. So this is a real area of strength, and it's increasing in terms of both numbers, really. For the percent passing exams, which exams, like, so AP exams, right, and passing would be usually like the 3. What are the other exams that they count? Maybe I was wondering if every class actually had an exam to pair off of that.
So your AP classes would qualify, your art assessments, your IB assessments, the assessments associated with, let's say, the EMT course or the nursing program at Rising. So any courses associated with those classes.
So that's right down. So art assessments? What is that? Art? Did you say?
EMT.
There's an AP, and then what? You said something before IB assessment?
Nursing.
If there's the assessment associated with the nursing.
So AP, I guess I misheard it. AP is the first one. IB,
EMT. Nursing. What about SAT?
SAT.
SAT is... SAT is one?
SAT.
Okay, and everyone takes that.
So anyone meeting benchmark there, or, so here's the kicker, or earning 3 or more college credits. So that counts as well. Yep.
What about CTE? Career tech ed. I mean, in some career tech ed, they actually get certified.
What would be an example of one? I'm just drawing a line. So what would be an example of the CTE?
Well, like a project way or engineering course, or could be a accounting course or a business course, or anything that's down that hall.
I don't think so. I don't think those count, but I can look into that.
I think we should, because I thought that they did somehow.
So should we be concerned that only 56% of our students out of 96 that take these courses are passing the exam?
Well, I think we've seen a large number of kids taking the courses. And so I think the more experience they get with them, the better they're going to do on these assessments. So, and we've seen that that's increased too. Would I love it if they all got 3, 4s, and 5s? Yeah. But,
And they do offer supports for there's after-school activities or clubs to help them with their AP. There's opportunities to meet with specific teachers. So there's opportunities throughout the day for seeking an after-school to receive some support to help with staff.
Yeah, I really think that this is something that we should get into more, and we've gotten into it in curriculum last year and this year. But I'll give you an example. Now that I've had 3 children take AP U.S. history, one of them made it to right around the turn of the 19th century, and the other 2 didn't finish the Civil War in English.
And how far were they supposed to go?
1980. And some people would say that, a lot of important things happened, in the, in the 20th century. So, there's a lot to learn in U.S. history, and so this is my third. So out of all 3 of those children, none of them got within 100 years of where we are now. So I think that really taking a dive into this is important, because I think there's other classes that might have some. That class in particular, I think, is pretty hard, and we, for whatever reason, have 10th graders take it. Or I think world history might be a little bit easier. My understanding, right, I'm not taking this, might be easier. Maybe our 10th graders can be taking that. 10th graders take it a little harder.
That Carmita High could shed some light on that situation for us.
Make them rebel.
Yeah, but I think
That's not the first time they've had American history.
There's a lot of concern in some of those different exams on, getting through the amount of work,
Yes.
material, and are we doing it? And clearly, there's some kids that are just excel and are going to get 5s. I know the student that graduated last year, they got 5s in all the exams regardless.
So do you think because they didn't get through the whole, course material, that's hindering them getting a good score?
I would agree.
I think definitely make them thought that.
There's a little, so that is an issue. There's a little built in with our actual school calendar versus like schools on the West Coast who might start here earlier. So I'm just trying to, at percent passing exams, I'm just, one student, just like an individual student, how many exams do they have to pass to be considered passing exam? Like if they pass the SAT, I know there's a benchmark for that. Would they be good? Or do they need to, like you mentioned, percent taking courses, they need to take a couple courses. Do they need to pass a couple exams? So that's my question. How many exams would a particular student have to pass to count for that? And then my other one is there any jeopardy for that student, just in terms of this, in terms of like not passing one? Like for instance, you mentioned AP, but our IB scores are actually, IB I value beyond just passing a test, but our IB scores, most students are not passing those. Like those tests. So I guess my 2 questions, like, what does it take to be counted as one of the people passing, and does it hurt to not pass one a given test? And if so, should we kind of think about, what are our best bets of getting a student to pass one of these? Because dual enrollment courses count, right? Like the dual, if a student were taking like a ECSU creative writing, and passing that.
So like for that kind of course, if they pass the course with a C or better, if they're getting 3 credits.
Those count. But do they count as percent passing exams?
Yes, they would.
Yeah. So those dual enrollment and the year count too. And that's where we have a lot of growth, right, in terms of dual enrollment and continues to add on because of the statewide push and the successful grant that's still continuing, we're seeing the effects of this.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Short and then short.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah, my question is, so we talked about passing exams, and it was brought up about SAT. There's 4 different sections on the SAT. But they just need to pass one of those, or they need to pass 3? How does that kind of factor in here?
I think it's, the SAT is like meeting overall benchmark, so those are the sub-tests create, all the combination of the sub-tests create like a overall score. So that overall score on SAT is what would be considered meeting benchmark, and that will go towards that.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's the overall score, not just meeting one career readiness benchmark.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
I know the SAT is a standardized test. I believe AP is. I'm assuming IB is. What about EMT and nursing? Are those standardized tests?
I think they are standardized, not the way SAT is, but there are certification tests.
Yeah, they have to meet a certain goal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And my other question was, how many IB students do we have?
How many total IB students?
Yes.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer. I can get that from you easily, I just don't have it memorized.
Okay.
Would you want me to find out for you? Total, how many IB students?
I'm interested. I got to go through the third person, the chairman.
So I think a few hundred students take IB classes. And you're saying enrolled in the IB diploma program?
Yes.
I think it's a few dozen.
I was going to say, 24.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many get the IB diploma is a different number.
Do you specifically want the number for the diploma program, not students who are in
I
IB?
need both.
Yeah, for comparison, I'd like to see
Both.
I'd like to see both, yeah.
Because a lot of kids will do a combination of IB and AP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's right. Shirley, had your hand up.
Yeah, I would like to see it broken down by the total number of students taking IB, the total number of students taking AP, and then also the data about the kind of crossover, the students that are doing both.
And so total number of students taking IB, total number of students getting the IB diploma, total number of students taking AP, and the crossover of students taking IB and AP.
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to add, I think Adrian said it, but last year, curriculum went for at least the AP and IB scores, and it was very helpful and enlightening. And so it seemed that, I felt like the composure of the committee at the time would like to see that continue on an annual basis. It was very helpful. So curriculum committee have more time to drill down. I'm just suggesting that continue what we did last year with the AP/IB. They're kind of working out, fine-tuning the format presented to them. They probably have that work coming out. It is very late.
If you look back at the meetings, we had meetings either November or early December where we talked about that. And then I think Matt Brown came in and talked to the whole board about it also. Kind of did a summary from the whole meeting.
That's a nice thing about having it on Zoom. You can look back at the recordings and see the minutes and kind of get a real quick briefing.
But then looking forward, we also want to continue.
Yeah, continue.
Looking forward.
Right.
Shirley, you have another question?
It didn't lower my hand, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
So would that be a referral? Oh, I'm sorry.
For your own committee. You can figure that out with
You
him.
can just put it on.
Yeah.
Share.
Yeah, that's it. This is a good page.
So high school graduation and beyond, yep. So when we look at Indicator number 7 is on track for high school graduation. This specifically looks at first-time ninth grade students. And if they are carrying the load where they earn 6 credits their first year and they have no more than 1 semester left. And so we saw a good increase there. Our 4-year graduation cohort is always several years behind. But our 4-year is first-time ninth graders that graduate within 4 years. And that's 88%. And then our 6-year graduation cohort is first-time ninth graders that graduate within 6 years, and that's specific to our high needs population.
When you say 2023 cohort, does that mean they graduated
Yes.
in 2023? That's the 4-year, that's the class of 2023?
Yeah.
Why is that, why is it even farther back than what it could be? Why wouldn't it be like 2025?
Saying we graduated yet.
The people who graduated, so maybe it's like saying, like last year the class of 2025 graduated. Is the 2023 cohort, they graduated in 2023?
Yes, that's the graduating class.
So, yeah, why does it lag? Why wouldn't they know? They know everything now.
We don't even get those adjusted graduation rates. It's not timely. There are a few things that, to be quite honest, are not, so they're always like a few years behind that. Like if you look on the report card for staff attendance, that's always several years behind. Yeah. And I don't know the reason other than that. I can look into it, but
And we need to write these all down and get the date and
explain it.
a sheet. So on.
So this is, the first number, for number 7 is graduating class of 2023. And the second one is graduating class of 2024.
I'm sorry, say that again.
On school year. This is ninth grade in 2023.
Okay. And so when do they graduate? One track?
You want to know how to add 4 to them?
No, what about the 4-year, I should say number 8, 4-year graduation, all students. They graduated in
2023.
23, that's what it was. I said 27, sorry. And the other one is 2024. But we would know how many students they go in 2025 ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need the state to do that. We could have those numbers.
Well, we give them our numbers.
Right.
They do, and then they process them out, because it has to do with first-time ninth graders that graduate in 4 years exactly.
Yeah, but we would know the 2025 number ourselves.
Yeah, we could go back. We could go back and they
You would say unofficial.
Yes.
Unofficial in 2025.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
yeah.
This is-
I think the high school does that kind of thing.
But we don't have it here. And by reducing the number of credits they need, you think that's going to help us now? Because we're almost at 94%.
Yeah, I do think so. No, this page is the most reassuring. If we can get there by 2030, we'd like to get everywhere by 2030.
Yeah.
And then indicator 10 really deals with post-secondary. It's 2- and 4-year colleges, so graduating students who within a year enroll in a 2- or 4-year post-secondary institution.
So this one, is there a way like that the school districts can get together and push back on this and like expand number 10? Because so someone graduating and going straight to ED as a full-time job or right into the Navy full-time job.
That's I've been working with Senator.
Count there, and they're nothing but successful, right?
So we can speak directly to the military piece where we, through our meetings, this has been an ongoing process of trying to get credits for that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding at our last meeting was that really military in two systems, like who houses that information, and then the Department of Education can't agree and aren't willing to share information, and that's kind of the jam. Am I correct in saying?
Exactly. I've been trying, the military superintendent liaison group that I work with since 2012 has been trying, that's the first thing we saw, just like you. Why doesn't that count? Careers are where it's at, really, that should count for something.
And there was a gentleman there, who, my understanding is that the information is housed within.
Barbara Ross, who's in charge of family military affairs.
Yes, so he is the one who reported out, but then I can't remember the gentleman from the Army who was there, who was new. I can't remember, I apologize, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about the level of access and how we could potentially move forward a little bit, even if it's under the umbrella of a pilot, right?
Yeah.
Try to get us in there some, so, there's always glimmers of hope that maybe this will happen.
The Army has a better shot of getting us the enlisted data for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we ready for phys ed? That's not a real happy sight.
No, it is. It is.
It's better.
We're crawling up with physical fitness and the assessments that come along with it.
And that's grade 4 and 8.
It's grade 4, 6, 8, and 10.
Grade 4, 6, 8, and 10.
Can we go back one page for a second?
Can you go back on
Page 15.
There we go. Yep.
So for item 10, is, if I heard right, but they're considering post-secondary entrance as going to college, and they're not counting the other stuff.
Careers.
That's what I thought I heard, and I'm sitting here going,
Does it count for a trade school if they go to a trade school?
2 or 4 year post-secondary. So, but it has to be within the first year after graduating high school. So let's say somebody takes on a job at B, builds a little, builds their skill a little bit, and then opts to go to a 2-year school to fill that.
And ED might even pay for it.
Right. Well, which I think many students now take that route to try to avoid, right, some of those heavy costs. If they are in ED for 2 years and then are able to go back, well, that doesn't necessarily count here, because it's not within that window.
So all those students that take a gap year now, doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
So this is a flawed system.
It might count if they're accepted. That's a bad deal.
It's count if they accept it, but they take the year off.
Or do they have to go?
I think it's enrolled.
The
They
big,
can be accepted into multiple schools.
they accept it, sorry. Whatever that's called.
I know.
that aggravates, I'm sorry, that really aggravates me, because we still need people to do jobs that don't require all the frickin' degrees I got in college, okay? And they were less and less
I feel the
functional.
same way.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
And if you're calling it college and career readiness, it's ultimately careers. How we get there is all different kinds of ways.
Well, that should be a separate category then, and that should count for something. But, okay, well, I'll talk to the governor next time I see him. Thank you, I'm sorry for the interruption.
Well, maybe we can write a letter to the State Department of Education. I don't know who to address it to.
I've talked to them. Yeah.
And he's come right here and we've had the conversation.
And I'm pushing.
Oh, you have representatives, and
Oh, Charlene, yeah. That's your
Did she answer and talk to you?
I left a message.
You talked about it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should write a letter.
maybe your representatives in the state legislature can help.
Did write a letter from the superintendent group years ago, and they just can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to get the data. It's just crazy.
And get rid of number 10.
Can't you, don't they get,
They can't get the other part, get rid of it.
don't young men who enlist get, or women who enlist get some kind of verification paper that they've enlisted? And you can just send that to the state through Power School? You do the same thing for EP, for jobs.
Okay, so physical fitness.
Physical fitness, and this is the percent of students that are exceeding what's considered the health fitness zone. It is a low number. It is slowly going up. This year was a big year of focus for them, so I'm interested to see these results, which I'll be compiling. Their deadline to get them is the end of May, so I'll be compiling those early June, so we'll have a good idea. But the PE teachers really worked together this year. They had a lot of professional development. They worked closely on just trying to identify, as an example, do they want to do the pizza or the mile run, so that it's consistent across the buildings and across the grade levels, but also collaboration and calibration of how are we administering these assessments, how are we scoring these assessments, and there was a lot of misunderstandings or different understandings, is probably a better word, of what it should be. So they really took the time this year to do that, to provide incentives for students in some cases and in some buildings. I think it was the middle school, don't quote me on that, where they took students into more of that small group setting where one of the kids may be embarrassed to be performing an assessment in front of others. So they're really trying to think outside the box of how to help kids improve, building it into the beginning or end of every PE class. So they've really spent some time thinking about and figuring out how to raise these scores.
Have we changed our physical education curriculum in any way? I mean, when's the last time we did anything with that curriculum?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to.
Because these scores have always been not good.
Yeah, they're not good.
So, I mean, maybe that's something the curriculum committee can look at, is the PE curriculum.
I'm just ready to Anne Marie.
Because maybe that needs to be looked at too.
Potentially. I honestly don't know the answer.
It'd be interesting to see historically, from the beginning of taking these tests, how the kids are doing to now, because I just would say that our kids are also more sedentary. I mean, I don't think they're climbing on monkey bars and doing all chin-ups and all that stuff.
But, I mean, giving them more opportunities to do that. So I believe even some of the schools are working it into their recess, like little activities and stuff. So it is being addressed.
I think the teachers who are teaching at those grade levels are making sure that throughout the year they're practicing those skills. But you're right, if it was in a curriculum document and that we did it K through 12 and paid attention to those benchmarks, we would be better off.
What grades are physical fitness? Is it particular grades? Or is
Yes,
that-
grade 4, 6, 8, and 10.
And then that test, is it not that? Is it a presidential physical fitness test? Really? Is it that thing?
It's just the Connecticut fitness
I
assessment.
don't know how closely it aligns. It does. I've
Is
seen.
it the reach?
Yes.
That's from,
Yeah.
that's from like the 1950s?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're not doing as well as we were in the 1950s or whoever did them in the
We teach the
1950s.
pull-ups, the sit-ups, the
Yeah.
stretches, the mile run.
Lots happened in a lot of areas of education, but that test
It has not changed.
has stayed the same.
But our kids are doing different things too.
It's interesting.
What's the arts in as well? What's that?
Arts access, so that has to do with dance, theater, music, media, taking between grades 9 and 12, participating in any of those courses, which are requirements.
You get talking on that?
We did. We did pretty good with that.
Specific ones. So
We're a pretty artsy place.
Yeah.
But how are we not 100% in this? I thought it, like the arts, the performing arts, or like there's a category that you're required to do before you graduate, right? Or is it, how's the way, what's the path of avoiding arts? I thought it was what are the graduation requirements?
So the target is 60%, and we're at 66.5, so we're really at, we should get more than 100 points, but we got at least the 100, which is the target.
Oh, I see that. I thought the plan studies,
Because it gives you, I think in those particular areas, you do have certain options, and I would have to look at but of those requirements, there could be considered a non-arts potentially. I would have to look at them.
yeah.
But that would be the only, like, so you're taking music, theater, or,
All right.
that
Or
sort of
drop,
thing.
yeah. Interesting. But, yeah, no problem.
And so,
Any questions on this page?
and so really that's where we get our accountability index from. It's all of those 12 indicators combined to get our 70.2.
Do you know, are they equally weighted? Like, for instance, Mitch was talking about, like, ELA, math, and science, one would think that some of those would be more weighted than others. Like, when they do the accountability, could I add up all our 12 percent points earned and divide it and get to 70.2 or something? Like, how do I...
Yeah, you're adding up all the percentage of points earned, you're adding that up and dividing. So no, I don't believe they are weighted. They're not weighted. That's where the targets come in. That's where that weight occurs.
So like number 12, arts access is the same as number 2, ELA, academic growth.
Yeah, but what the expectation is may be different.
Is that a way to, like, if we wanted to, if our goal were to raise our total accountability index, should we look at the places, like for instance, physical fitness, which is what Google is look at, like it's way below 100.
Right.
Then going back,
What did you say, like, affiliated?
well, if all, like, we're at 11 and 12 here, physical fitness and art access. But then there are 12 of these things. If they're all equally weighted, then the places where we're way below 100% of point earned, it's really hurting our accountability index. And so just kind of looking back through, it's our growth, our growth ones, the two, I guess it's just two, like the different growths. We're all kind of like, yeah, as you said, like these were actually in terms of percent, so it's easier to understand. And it's like 50 or so, 50 to 60% of the possible points are, that's what we're getting in the academic growth. So real low compared to what we could pick up. And then absenteeism, we take a huge hit, right? Like chronic absenteeism, all students, 39% of points earned. Chronic absenteeism, high need students, 11% earned. And then you come around to physical fitness again. But it's like that growth and the absenteeism and the physical fitness that really hit you. I don't know if 2A, B, C, D, E, F, are they counted individually, maybe? Or are they add together? Like if we go back to that growth line. Yeah, that one. So they're all around 50 to 60% percent concern. Does that go all together and make two? Or do these get entered in? Like, are these weighted equally to every other box? Or is this combined with one number that's weighted? It doesn't matter.
I believe it's combined.
To make A2. Yeah. So growth, absenteeism, and physical fitness really hammer our accountability index.
Which is why they're, especially with the chronic absenteeism, because you think if we can fix that, some of the other things have a better chance of improving as well, right? Because if you're missing all that instruction, we're not going to be performing where we could be because you missed so much instruction. So
That's our connection.
Chronic absenteeism has to be the first thing.
That's our triple star.
That's our triple stars, right?
Exactly, which is why that's been such a huge push and will continue to be.
So that next page, though, is kind of interesting. That one.
So these,
Jay has left the meeting, I just want people to know that.
so these were the key performance indicators for the academics.
So how do we get there by 2030 is the question.
Right.
This is what would have to happen.
And so the column to the left after the indicators is school year 2025, so 24-25, which was last year. These are our actual scores as of right now. So the accountability index that we just talked about was the 70.2. Ideally, for next year, our target is to get to 75 for an accountability index, which means the group that is currently in the middle of testing, that's what will measure whether we hit our target or not. That'll give us our accountability index, or I'm sorry, our performance indexes for next year.
And it looks like we took the biggest bump because we didn't realize we were going to decline the last time. So for next year, but then it's just a couple percentage points each year. So it might not be a 5% increase, for instance, in the accountability index next year. Maybe it's 74 or 73, but then we have to make it up then the next few years to get to that goal by 2030.
Yeah, so we didn't meet, like last year when we ran it, we had a target for 2025.
Right.
Our actuals did not meet that target, right?
Yes, in many cases.
I think like the first one, we had it at 72.5.
Yeah.
Then the next one down was at 67, and then 62.5 and 64.
Which made it nice because it was every year.
Yeah.
2 points.
And
That was doable.
That's what it was built on.
Right, that was what it was built on.
Should we be readjusting ours, or is he submitted to the state?
No, this is just how would we track it? We're just trying to figure out how to do that.
This is how we're measuring ourselves, right? So this is more, where what we looked at tonight had to do with the state. This is, we're using that information, but to help us make sure we can reach the goals we want to reach, right? Based on the items that are strategic.
Yeah.
What was our target for 2025? I see the actual, but what was the target?
In terms of the key performance indicator, I don't believe we had one for 2025. We didn't finish it until the end of last
So
year.
we did, yeah, so is everything from 2026 on is the same as what was in last year's packet? And then 2025, now we have the actual target, where the first one was 72.5.
Okay.
And then the DPI ELA, the second one is 67. And then the DPI math is 67 for ELA, 62.5 for math, and 64 for science.
And then each one goes up a couple points. So,
And what was the accountability index target?
72.5, just to make sure.
What was the
that sounds
academic?
right, Mike. Good job. Did you just have that in your brain, or do you have it?
No, I got it, you know.
Really good memory.
Well, I knew that it was like, we were trying to do it in increments of 2 to 3, to get there.
All right, so you definitely didn't make it in science for,
Yeah, those are correct.
yeah. What was it for academics?
Which,
Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, thank you.
And these are, well, they're hosted as the academic portion of all of this that we're doing.
so, I'm going to make a prediction that we will not make our target for 2026 in any of those, because it's, you'd be asking roughly +5 in each of those categories to get there. And and it just, I mean, the reality is with the pace of change,
Yeah.
we don't see that as a school system. My guess is most school systems wouldn't see that usually either.
All right. Any other questions on this page?
When do we, okay, so as you said, we have fewer and fewer years to make target. I feel like to me, any of the trends we see, we're not making our target by 2023. There's nothing in the data that suggests we would. And I know there are new initiatives and but it seems to me like there needs to be a big jump in terms of the resources and maybe some other methods that are being put into this. The school system, partially because of funding, which will come up tomorrow, is struggling to attain a goal set by the state. And I don't see how we're going to do that with less resources. And less resources means less useful resources for instruction when we're spending more on fuel and things like that. So there are areas of strength here in pointing them out, but in terms of making these targets, that's gloomy to me.
We could also adjust it so that, let's say you do 3 percentage points, which might be more doable, and you can still make it to many of these goals with that. But we were basing it on what we thought we could do.
Yeah, it's just it's like a sort of a call to action.
Yeah, it is.
And I know the school system hears that, but I think the wider audience needs to hear that too. And I don't know what it's like for the other alliance districts, but it might just speak to inequities in educational funding and on the backs of what taxpayers are paying what, or our under commitment to high need students of all types. Like there's a lot going into this, but it seems like to me we're not making 20, 20, 30, 30.
I do believe that the governor and the legislators had that in mind with the extra funds that they've given to the district and to the town to really give us that one-time shot to try to infiltrate the system. And I think it was...
You need the booster shot to follow up.
Yeah, well, you might need that. I mean, at least it gives us a start, but it depends on how towns will perceive this and how that happens.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. This reminds me of something we called the CPI, Cost Performance Index, in my previous job, where we weren't meeting expectations. We had a CPI of 1, and that we were performing in accordance with the plan, and we were making the right amount of money. If we were below that, we were in trouble, and we had to come up with a plan as to how we were going to get there, and it was simulate. That's what this is. I'm not sure what the numbers are based on, but you're trying to get to these particular points. So this is what the goal is each year to get, where the target is each year to get to the target.
Right.
Okay?
That's exactly.
And money is not always the answer. I'm beginning to think, I hate to say it, maybe the curriculum committee ought to take a look and see, are there things that we can change right now, or I guess starting in September, in the way things are being taught in the classroom. We have written wisdom, which I'm told is the greatest thing since sliced bread, okay? But what else? And maybe a lot of times when you hire a consultant, the consultants get the information that they need to solve your problem by asking your own people. So the consultant could be the curriculum committee talking to teachers, department heads.
I would say that's our Groton Public School strategic plan, and there were a lot of people on all different levels that came together to create that plan, and we knew that we had to address these particular academic areas. And even with the phys ed, I mean, working with the PE teachers and making sure they're looking at curriculum and looking at what the benchmarks are, so that, and uniform systems. So in a sense, that's exactly what we've been doing. But
Have there been any changes as a result of that?
we're going through a lot of change right now, and a lot of professional development to have teachers ready for the change. So, but it does take a little bit of time, and I think that hear your sense of urgency, because I feel the same.
Yeah, because I don't want to say the sad thing is that these scores have been this way below the state for years. So it's not it just didn't happen. It's been happening. And so now the urgency, where we should have been urgency years ago too.
Well, I would say they've been below since COVID, or right about the same since COVID,
Yeah.
depending on how you're looking at it.
Okay.
Well, they haven't been like 75%. So
Oh, you mean the target is
yeah, the
75?
target hasn't been there. So.
Mitch, I would like to just say, I can support that, like a consultant type thing. I think that the board committee can be in a tough place to do that, to try to get that information from teachers and people in the districts, but possibly an outside consultant with an outside view and a different skill set. Maybe that's something that we could talk to and see if there's maybe efficiencies, these things can be streamlined, to give us a path forward. And maybe there's other districts that have met these goals, and somebody else with some specific experience might be able to help.
Well, the State Department does that for free for us, and they meet with us about 4 times a year, and they do walkthroughs, and they actually, you do an analysis about 4 times a year and work with them, so.
We don't have to probably go through.
At the high school department.
Well, but they're only at the high school, right? I think
We got rid of a lot of department heads.
We had the 6 through 12. Remember, we still have the STEM, math STEM one. But, yeah,
So we have a department head for social studies, science,
at the high school,
at the high school.
only at the high school. And they get a period off.
There are other things, like systemic things, though, that could be this, like curriculum coordinators, like that do vertical alignment of curriculum, so that you learn in 8th grade, whatever about math, and then 9th, 10th, 11th, and make sure it carries through, and that each grade is picking up where the last grade fell off. We don't really have those anymore. We've got, and I think that we're unique in that. I know we have 1.5 FTEs, or very few curriculum coordinators compared to what a district would typically have, especially district personnel. So that's why I say maybe there's some system things in here that can be looked at.
And the ELA and math that started out as K-5 is through a grant, a DODIA grant, that ends in a couple of years.
I'm sorry to take this over here. I'm not trying to. But we got a big holiday coming up. It's not, I don't consider Memorial Day to be a holiday. It's a sad thing. Do the students have, is anything talk to the students about what Memorial Day is? Why we have it? It's not so people can go shopping. Right there is a great way, we can introduce a little history to the students and the significance of what that is. I mean,
Or the same thing for Veterans Day.
Well, I think, yeah.
exactly.
There is a lot more probably that goes on for Veterans Day, but yeah, I can ask the principals what they have going on.
Okay, thank you. That's
You could make a referral, maybe something that you want the board to take a look at. Just send me an email, make a referral, and then we'll bring it to the board and we can decide what to do with it. Okay? Okay. That was a good discussion.
This is the district reference group.
So like districts, how we perform in comparison to them. You can see Groton's in red, so we're in the upper quarter of the reference group in terms of performance. We're consistently up on that top quarter.
This page, we're 4 from the top, and the other page, we're 4 from the bottom.
And then there is the comparison by region, which is who's surrounding us, right?
moved up one from last year, actually.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
good. We didn't-
Sometimes we're neck and neck with Blanchard too. So it's,
Is the other concept I ask this often, do we know, like, does the State Department of Education still use that? Because it hasn't been updated in a long, long time.
it's another good question, but I would say that when you look at these other districts, we have more, we have more alike and more in common. I would say especially with places like Vernon, you had said Hampton is another one that you felt was closely aligned.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, it has a very similar, like two extremes, right? Like there's a very high income portion of Hampton and then a very low income portion. So you kind of see some similarities there.
Usually we're right beside Vernon. Somehow East Haven and Bristol did something different.
And East Haven is very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen East Haven that high. That's interesting.
And Colville about Stratford.
Yes, I do want to call out schools of distinction. So the state identifies schools who are doing extraordinary progress in certain areas. Catherine Paskey and Thames River both earned the school of distinction for high growth in math for high need students this year. It's the exact same distinction both those schools earned last year for ELA. So it's they're making, yeah. So it's the second year they're both on the list for high need students just in different subject areas.
So this year, because we just had it with the board
Yeah,
meeting.
we did.
So they came to the board meeting for ELA.
No, for math.
For math. Okay. Last year they got it for ELA, and we didn't have them come to the board meeting last year.
I think we did do a hurrah for them somewhere.
Not here, not at the board meeting. But good for them.
So strengths, again, TRMS and CK, high need students, making academic growth, increase the number of students just making academic growth in math from 23-24 to 24-25. Physical fitness, we've made growth there, and in our arts access, really demonstrates our district's commitment to developing well-rounded students. The high school graduation and beyond, in all four indicators, there was an increase from 23-24 to 24-25. And this really supports the importance of offering a wide range of opportunities and pathways for students to find a passion. It just increases engagement, it gives it purpose. So.
In terms of attendance too.
And attendance, absolutely. Everything always comes back to that. Our areas of focus, so in terms of English language arts, we did see a slight decline this year. We continue to work through that implementation of the new reading program, and we've adopted the Written Wisdom reading program for GMS for the 26-27 school year to have that K-8 alignment. Science performance, the same thing. We did see that grade 8 really was the driver of that decline. We added our STEM coordinator, expanded his role to K-8, again, for that vertical alignment, giving them more opportunities with the interim assessments. And then chronic absenteeism increased between 23 and 24. However, this year in particular, Maury Wrightington came. She supported the district implementing Tier 1, creating Tier 2 and Tier 3 structures to address it. We updated the attendance policy and the district and building level attendance teams meet regularly.
How does the attendance policy, like how does updating it go?
I think it was, even in terms of the interventions that were in place, some of the language that was in there did not align with current state policy. I'd have to go back and look at the language from the previous one.
I think even in regulations, we had letters that would go home, and I think we really revised the letters so it's more encouraging for families to want to come, because we would hear from families that they felt like punished by the letters, and we wanted them to feel encouraged and supported to get those kids to school.
So where we're really low also with physical education, yet it's getting better. Would it belong in the area of focus, or continued area of focus? We're far below where we want to be, but it's going in the right direction. And I was wondering about that. Does it belong here or not? We have to be even clear with that.
We put in, I mean, it is an area of focus specifically for the PD department. They're very aware of it. The schools, in particular administration, the schools are on top of making sure that they have what they need in their giving the students the opportunities to practice those assessments, to do them the right way, making sure they understand, making sure all students are participating, because we get data for that as well. So like those are the first steps of improving it, right? But would it belong up here? Yeah, because it's not going away. It's going to continue to be.
The next page, just to get them on to show you the website. How many of you have seen the website here? And you've gone to that, and so your feedback is really appreciated. So if you feel like there's other things that we could add to this, we can certainly do that. But did you want to show them how they can get to like the report card?
Yeah, so they could, wait, the report card or the report card, that would be,
There are some limitations that you run up against, right? Like interfacing with because it clicks with the state site. There's only so much that will allow you to do.
So this brings us to our district's data dashboard on our website. There's more than one way to get to that dashboard. You can scroll right down to the bottom of the district homepage, or you can go into the menu and choose data dashboard right under the district strategic plan. And that is where this is available to, oh, it's on my presentation, or it's not letting me let me. Come out of this for a second. You can click on district data dashboard.
This is the live site.
So this is our live site right on Groton Public Schools. Anyone can access this. These are our pillars, our strategic plan. If you wanted to know a little bit more about them and what specifically goes into each pillar. And then our key performance indicators. So we have them all listed here, right? So we measure ourselves like we talked about. It's that same dash matrix that's in your packet. We just put it into tiles for easy access here, so you can click on it and get right to that particular area. The Connecticut report card, it's not letting me go.
My recollection is you count on, like, say, the accountability index.
You can. That's one way to get there.
It'll take you there, but then you have to select Groton there. It's just a limitation to what the state site will allow you to do.
Yes.
Or anyone to do.
And I can link, it was linked, so I have to go back. We're going to link where it said report card right to it. Sorry, this is, there it is. So you can come here, but you have to select Groton.
Right, but every state, when you click on those, you always have to select Groton again. There doesn't seem to be any way around
No,
that.
there's not.
Unfortunately, it's just the way the
We have to do
website,
the same thing.
the state website is constructed, not this website.
Yep. But this is, right. And so this is just another way to look at the same information that we just went through during this presentation.
I think you also were putting up all your presentations too somewhere on that website, right? So you can get to it there?
No, we're not doing that, but we can.
Because that would make it also very easy to get information.
This would be a good time to say, I was going to say, thank you for guiding us through all this data. Commission going down the rabbit hole. There's a lot of data on here. You keep looking and looking and looking. But you look at it with a purpose and you understand what goes into it too. So we lost literally in the data without you.
Yeah, well, and so that is always my advice. It's my advice to teachers administrators when I'm working with them on EdSite Public and EdSite Secure. That's always the first thing I tell someone is you need to go in with either a question or a purpose. Because if you just go in wanting to find anything, yeah, you're going down a real big,
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time there.
I guess since you see the matrix.
Can we move on?
Yes, we can. So that is the district, that is the report card. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to jump right into the attendance. Just 2 seconds to get there.
Great. We talked a lot about it even in this presentation.
So we should move through this quickly because we have talked about quite a bit of it.
Want to give us the highlights then?
You want me to give you highlights? I will move through this. Here we go. We know all of this. We know all of this, so we did revise our letters. These are comparisons. So this is a district monthly attendance comparison. Last year, 24-25 on the left, to this year, 25-26 on the right. It's only through March. April will come out within the next week or two, and then follow suit with June, May and June. You can see just from this chart that we've made significant gains in our tackling our chronic absenteeism to date. We're just significantly lower than we have been from the year before. I need, yep.
So this is like golf, you want the low score.
Yes,
We want the low score here.
That's all you have to think about.
We're looking for those birdies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is high needs versus non-high needs, chronic absenteeism. So obviously our high needs group is definitely, our target. And we've had conversations, especially in our district attendance meetings, about, the why behind some of these students. And the schools do know, they have a very good understanding of who their chronic absenteeism students are, what's going on with them. As an example, the middle school had shared that many of those students that are chronically absent are free and reduced lunch, and in most cases, they find that transportation is an issue, meaning mom or dad or guardian leaves before the kid misses the bus, there's no way to get to school, and it's not like just walk with them, So, how do we combat that, right? How do we try to support that? I mean, we talked about even public transportation is available. What's the likelihood of them being able to have a stop? I mean, these are just to give you some brainstorming that we've done, right? Because that could be a game changer for, not elementary school, but a middle or high school student that had that,
They even said, could STA go pick up, have a second pickup?
Well, I mean, in terms of funding, I don't know, but what are some other alternatives to help get those kiddos in the building?
Do you have a sense on this one? So like the previous year, the reasons you talked about, that it kind of tends to stabilize in later years or later months because it's less volatile. As you said, like if you get the flu in September, that's going to put you on the list. But it's climbing up January, February, March, and this then is the current year.
I was flu and COVID.
Well,
COVID was big this year.
Just,
It's cold. It's cold.
I mean, the blizzard.
and so, and I do need to point that out, this is this year's, not last year's, just so you know. I know we're kind of having a switch in our brain. So the more days, though, when you think about those students who miss school, right, on a regular basis for whatever reason, so you have different buckets of kids. You have kids that, like every month, let's miss 2 or 3 days. By the time you get to April, you're now chronically absent, right? Versus maybe someone who's been sick more than once with the flu or COVID versus who keeps missing the bus and has no way to get to school versus who physically cannot get there at school refusal, right? So there's so many different buckets that these kids fall in the schools are trying to manage and,
Even support and encourage
support, yeah.
But it's still lower than this time last year.
Significantly lower than it was last year. Yep. So we measure 4 times a year. We measure at day 45, day 90, day 135, and then the end of the year as a district. Our attendance, we're monitoring it all year, but then we take snapshots. And this is by school. If you look at the top, that's the count of students in comparison to their enrollment on day 135. The middle row is our percentage of students below 90%. So in other words, that's our chronically absent per school. And then the average daily attendance, how many kids on average are showing up every day for school. And so that's that bottom row.
So that one stands out to me
Yes.
in a big way.
Very
I'm sure she does as well.
And I'm going to be completely honest because I've really taken some time to go up there and sit with those attendance teams. It's not for lack of trying. I mean, there's definitely, they can tell you every student, but I think, it's going to be a process for the high school of really working towards getting this down. So, and we have Mario coming again at the end of this year in June to talk about what does it look like for next year. How do we target those kids that are in 8th grade now that are chronically absent? How are we going to support them before they get to high school? So all of those conversations are happening. Comparison, so 24-25 to 25-26 on day 135, you can see that every single school has had a decrease, some more significant than others. We look at things, River as an example, was a 10% decrease in their chronic absenteeism between this time last year and this year. And then a comparison from day 90 to 135, there's a slight increase. I do need to call out that between day 90 and day 135, we did have like an uptick in the flu at the end of February, beginning of March, that really hit specific schools in general. I know like CB, I think was one of them. So even with that, the increase is still relatively slight for that time of year. And this is by grade level. And it's obvious, right? Our grade 9 through 12 really is the bulk of our chronic absenteeism at this point.
Even middle school has done much better this year.
Oh, yeah, significantly lower than they were last year. Kindergarten typically tends to be truly, right? Yeah, they just
They catch everything. But now that they're going into pre-K, maybe that'll be their year, and then they'll start showing up in kindergarten.
Because the elementary schools do emphasize that, like on kindergarten information night and screenings and, beginning of the year open houses, that is a big emphasis that kindergarten need to be here. It's really important. Yeah, this is a foundational year. So those conversations are happening. Well, I'm running out of battery.
But it got to get to the edge.
Oh, yeah, the grade 0, does that include pre-K or is that actually kindergarten?
No, that's strictly kindergarten.
Okay.
So pre-K does not count towards our chronic absenteeism. We do track it on our own, but it doesn't count towards it at the state.
It'll be practice for kindergarten.
Is that because the state doesn't require pre-K?
Yes, exactly. Attendance by lunch status, free and reduced versus not. You can see that there's that gap by school. There's a significant gap between those students, more so at the middle and high school. And trends, we have seen a slight increase in chronic absenteeism since day 90. As a district, we've decreased from one year over the other. Our greatest percentage of chronically absent is our Hispanic population. And so we've been having conversations about what the barrier may be there or what the reason behind that might be. And our free and reduced lunch and our students in 9-12, my computer just died. I think that was the last slide. I'm so sorry.
It was attendance matters.
Attendance does matter.
It still matters.
It still matters.
It still matters.
This was directly from the state. This was their messaging that we obviously pass on to our families. Yeah, that we need to encourage parents to be sending children to school and children be coming to school right up to the very last day. Really trying to make sure those celebrations are as close to the end of the year as possible. Continuing the outreach with families is huge.
And And the middle school has done their promotion Monday, the 22nd, but that's usually a board meeting, so we got to figure that out. We might have to switch that up.
We did.
Did we already switch it? Okay.
They had an email saying that the board meeting is being switched to June 29th.
We had an extra Monday.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that I have noticed at Fitch that there is a strong push for absenteeism. I mean, I called to pull my kid out for a doctor's appointment, and I got a talking to, and then he said your kid really needs to, your child really needs to be in school and all that. So I appreciate having that kind of push. Like, I didn't tell him it was a doctor appointment originally.
Yeah.
So there is, and if you go in the cafeteria, a couple of weeks ago, I noticed they were trying to make kind of a competition between freshmen, sophomore, juniors. Who could have the best absenteeism. Whether that works or not, who knows? But they're trying everything.
They really, truly are, so, we're gonna keep working at it.
That's one thing I was wondering about with the high school one, because absenteeism is a big problem in high school. That's what the rates are high. Should we have we could have a separate meeting or a separate committee about high school, what they're doing, because the rates are way, way higher than every other school.
Are you talking about absenteeism?
Yeah, for the high school, take a, where can we, as a board or a committee of the board, take a deeper dive into that? I'm not questioning their methods, but I'm trying to get a better sense of, with the senior class, it's like 3 out of every 10 students is chronically absent.
It's worse from the freshman year to the senior year.
And I can get that a little bit, but more, we don't have the time when it comes around with fall, and we're talking about everything else about the high school, to spend a lot of time about attendance. We talk about it a little bit, but then we kind of move on.
I think Matt Brown is coming to a CLW meeting in June.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. So we could talk to him about,
If you wanted Mark too to come.
Mark Romero is coming because Steve board member over here and so talk about his thoughts. So, and other things. But I really do want to talk about most of the stuff. So we can ask them questions about attendance, but you can make a referral if you want to do something other than them coming to that CLW meeting.
Maybe I'll wait see after that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what committee it would go to, honestly. And,
That'd be something for the whole board, I think, for the CLW meeting. Probably. Mitch?
In support of what you're saying, okay, just, I think, talking to the kids and telling them the importance of coming to school isn't good enough. We need something to motivate them. And that's why I mentioned earlier, before the meeting started, about years ago, Dr. Ackerman ordered an ice cream truck to come to the school. And I forget why they were getting that reward. But out of her own pocket, too. She had an ice cream truck come, and all the kids who had accomplished a certain feat, okay, got free ice cream. In fact, I think the staff did, too. But that's besides the point. If you do something like that, that'll motivate the kids to come to school.
And there's a bit of, also on the other end, help, because I saw like the high needs students the free and reduced lunch students higher chronic absenteeism, and we help like more support so they get knowing more about the problem might allow us to allocate more resources where they could be most useful. Ice cream truck, I support that for sure, or otherwise.
Any other comments? Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
I personally thought that was great.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was a nice conversation, all of those questions and information that you want.
She actually watched
Oh,
the
you got it?
video.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of days so I can get it to you.
And took notes so that she would get the lesson.
I always do. I want to make sure I'm giving you what you want.
Yeah.
So,
What we really want is to see progress, increase.
That's- we all
That's what
want that.
we really want. I mean, because it seems like the same thing for years and years and years. I mean, I like to see some increases,
Like we did in 2019.
even before that, you know?
The career readiness is a big thing.
It's a big motivator too.
So, you know, because when some people will say that are really budget-minded people, we may disagree with them, but they'll say, well, we're throwing money at you guys and we don't see any progress. And these reports almost validate what they're saying. I mean, we see little progress, but not the progress that a lot of taxpayers want to see. And I'm just being the devil's advocate. I mean, you know that, right?
Yeah, some might say that our increases haven't been enough where we're not actually seeing money from that.
So,
The increases have been below inflation, so we've actually been seeing
that's true.
a negative, but there's an answer to that when it comes up again.
It's going to come up again. But, you know, maybe like Nick says, looking at it and see what we could be doing better with what we have. You know,
But look at the high school football field. It hasn't, it's just been hold on for years and years. Now there's a big, huge new investment in the football field. It's going to be a multi-use field. That's the kind of jump sometimes is needed.
Look at the P's.
It's all about money. It's all about money. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about money, but like we're kind of running at a similar level throughout the years.
right. But, so, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, things will get better, you know. But thank you. It was, I really appreciate everything you do, all the data that you give us. It's great.
well, and you can always reach out if you're looking for something.
Yeah.
You know, don't ever hesitate.
Can you get back to us with some good questions?
Yes, give me a couple of days. But yeah, just to search it out, make sure I'm getting the right answers to you. All right.
Thank you. You're
Thank you,
wonderful.
Lauren.
My thing, is there more to the agenda?
No. They're going to talk about the dashboard, but I'll take good notes. You need to hit the vote.
Are you sure I can say?
No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, it's good.
I'll take notes.
Thank you.
Is there anything on the dashboard?
We did talk about the dashboard, but
Is there anything else?
they were wrenching it. It was,
me.
no, we talked about the dash.
I left them, I failed to notify.
No, this was before you.
Oh,
We talked about the data dashboard.
Was it the idea of like another layer of the data dashboard? So we have 8 person
Okay. We talked about this is what happened. We talked about the data dashboard. Ian was all set with it. But Adrian, you added something, and then Jay said, oh, Jay's the one that wanted the data dashboard, and he wasn't at the meeting, or he was there, but he left. So we scratched it off, but we wanted to give you guys another chance to talk about the data dashboard, and Jay's saying it again. So I'm just taking it off, if that's okay with everyone that's here.
What I might suggest is,
I'll just say what I think we were talking about was to have board access to more real-time data that maybe isn't shared publicly. Things like Tibble's testing, like in closer to real time, and there's a couple of other interim assessment testing that we do for math, and I can't remember them off the top of my head.
E-ready.
Already, yeah.
so those are tests that really we use to monitor student progress, and they inform instruction, so teachers use them individually.
So as a district, we're talking about just a district-wide thing for the board to have more real time, because we just spent 2 hours going over grade data, and it was just a reformulation of data that we went over last fall, you know, put through a different lens. So I didn't want to mention that, but all that data, we've kind of gone through the causes to it. It's just reformulating the stuff that we're talking about tonight. that was the intent, so the board can see more, like, in less time than a year, what's going on in the district. I think that, and what we do with that, let's see what we do with that. So I think that was the original intent.
Okay. And then you, like the interim assessments, like the focus assessments, or the
Yeah, I think just, and certainly not by classroom or even necessarily by building, but maybe by districts, how are we doing in real time, and just board access to this.
Now, that's also something that I think we presented, like we do the dibbles 3 times a year. And I thought,
It hasn't been consistent.
okay, so maybe if we did it more consistently, because what I've envisioned too is those presentations that we've done for the board, they also get published. So,
Can you put the dibbles on the dashboard for us? Okay, that's the question, right?
Yeah,
And I ready?
Yeah, and I really, just like the district-wide assessment data that we can see in a little bit more real time.
And it'll just be for board members. Right, you know, I see.
I mean, this is, I'm not saying that we have to do it, but I think that there is a concern.
There is concern, yeah, from the staff of that game.
Yeah, that too much real-time data like that might be discouraging to the staff.
Would it be FOI one if it comes to us?
That's the question.
So let's sort that
I mean,
one
it's
out.
not data that I would share with people. I mean, the parents get their own data for their child. We can't share that data, that level of data. But,
Maybe when we do a new template, Mike, Jen, and myself, and Susan, and Anne Marie, maybe we could put that, like, 3 times a year on the template, like, or 3 or 4 times a year, make sure that it goes on the board agenda for COW, or put on the template, and then, okay, in October, whatever month, November, we can have giggles, and January, we're going to have giggles, and May, I don't know if that would work. If it's FOI-able, like Mike said, if we have a dashboard, is that FOI-able?
well, this dashboard is for the public.
Yeah.
That one
Even
is
if
for everyone.
everyone to the board, would it be FOI-able? And so, because then it's not private, it is,
I agree.
so then we can put it on a template.
It needs thought and stuff.
And make something, it's up to you.
It's good to have the data and the discussion, so I like,
Yeah, it is.
like with the dashboard, that's great to add those, and then have those spots, you said, during the school year, to discuss it, right, contextualize.
And this was a good discussion.
Okay. But so if you put it on the dashboard, it can't be private, it probably can't be private, just report on this.
I would assume that.
Yeah.
I mean, some things could be, but
I almost see like it could walk hand in hand. So like you could do the presentations if we get them situated in the right places, and then it could be then published to on the dashboard.
Can we just ask Nick Caruso, because it was Nick, right, who did that? We can just ask him, because he would probably do it. Maybe we should just see.
yeah, and
We might not do it.
there's a purpose-oriented data, and in our case right now, of course, we have absenteeism, but the other one is the good implementation, working wisdom, and I ready, like the one.
Yeah, everything's
Close to that, where I- and- yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't here for that meeting, maybe we could go back and look at his video when he came, but I couldn't go in there. Okay.
Yep.
So we're still question mark with the dashboard.
Well, now I have a better understanding of what you're looking for, Adrian.
Yeah, well, it's not-
I know,
To be clear, this wasn't my idea. I'm just trying to reiterate
Yeah.
my memory of it, and I've spoken with Jay since to try to remember what it was about in the first place. So, and I think that's what it was.
Okay. So we did a clarification from Nick, we looked at the video when he was here in 2024, I think August of 2024, we went to a board meeting, and see what the presentation was that we did.
You may even have some new ideas to communicate.
November, if you want.
With that,
So it is kind of November.
Anybody else have anything, what about review of Tier 2, Tier 3 interventions for Larry, that you that you.
Yeah, the most important thing for my end that I would like to talk about.
Okay.
Is intervention.
Yeah, it was I think it was the first referral I made, and I think it's really important to talk about. I know that we've changed Tier 1, and are heavily trying to modify Tier 1, but I think these two, Tier 2 and Tier 3, go hand in hand, especially for the younger students.
I put down for the June agenda. Okay, so
Not on the 8th.
Another thing, and it's still not on here, but the world language. This is like the third time.
What about
The referral from the curriculum committee to discuss world language offerings.
like French and
The referral is right written into the minutes of that meeting in November, December.
and then past year, 2020?
Yeah. So the curriculum committee unanimously made a recommendation to, can you remember exactly what that was? That was just, I think it was just to review world language offerings or something like that.
That was before I was on.
Yeah, it was, so it was probably, well,
I think it was November.
yeah, it was November, December. It was the committee switch over.
And next to R 2024-33, I put ad hoc long-term space planning committee. I don't know where you are with that.
I haven't, we're going to have a busy set up meeting.
Busy too.
And for discussion, more of the food work grants, we're done with that, May 11th of the 10:36. And when Matt Brown, when he comes in June, we can ask him about the student exit survey. That was not sure about that. Okay. And any other referrals you have, just send them to me, and we'll talk about them at the board meeting. See what we can. All right.
Sounds good.
Anything else? Okay. Dr. A.
Dr. A, your turn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. She loves that. It is 9 o'clock and we're now adjourned. Thank you.